the line with us. You know, our old buddy Greg Palast, you have been the guy on the vote stealing and voter intimidation beat, as it were, forever. And the New York Times is reporting that Lydia Martinez, a retired educator who lives in San Antonio, at 6 a.m., police came to her house, and I don't know if they kicked in her door, but they're apparently doing that in Texas right now. She had complained publicly. She's a member of LULAC, you know, the Hispanic group down in Texas.
Hispanic organization, yes.
Right. She had complained publicly that she was not being sent mail-in ballots, and they raided her house. And she called up, and we just had at the top of the last hour, we had the director of the Texas LULAC on the program, and he said that he had called her up in tears and said, I can't afford to hire a lawyer to defend myself, and this is an attempt to intimidate Latinos in Texas into not voting. Now, I know a couple of years ago when Ron DeSantis was running for re-election, correct me if I'm wrong on this, he arrested a whole bunch of black people and had them paraded in front of the cameras in chains for, quote, illegally voting. And my recollection, Greg, is that as a consequence of that, in that next election, almost 1 million black people, fewer black people voted than in the previous election.
That's right, and it's very important to know that no one was convicted of illegal voting. They haven't found the only people. I only have 3 cases of illegal voting in Florida in the past decade. And they're 3 Republicans, by the way.
Right.
But so, it doesn't happen. So here's
this is now going
thing.
on in Texas.
We are now.
Is this going to go national?
Give me that woman's number. I'm going to call Rodney Ellis, who's the commissioner. He's in our new film, Vigilantes, Inc.
Right.
America's new vote suppression hitmen, which will be premiered in Los Angeles September 8th, hosted by the extraordinary Thom Hartmann. Will be released for general release on September 13. But Rodney Ellis, who runs Houston, is in that film. He's a great lawyer, and he is fighting like crazy these violent attempts to stop people from voting.
Yeah, Ken Paxton, they're kicking in doors all over Texas now, apparently. Right
kicking
now,
in doors. Let me tell you, he was accused of forging 750,000 ballots, which is, I said, at 8 seconds each, that's about 200 years. But anyway, he supposedly forged these ballots. Supposedly, he was accused by Republicans of putting these stolen ballots into an air conditioning repairman's truck. These right-wing vigilantes who are hired by this billionaire, it's not just nutcases, you're talking big money. This billionaire hired these detectives. They ran the guy with the air conditioning truck off the road, almost killed him, pulled him out of his truck with a loaded gun to his head and said, give us those stolen ballots. He goes to the back of the truck, afraid they're going to put a bullet in his head. He opens it up, and there's nothing but air conditioning parts in the back. Right. Thank God the Houston police showed up at that moment. Right. But this is the type of horrific, violent intimidation. And Commissioner Ellis, I'm sure, will be happy to work with the LULAC people in coming back and getting their votes. We saw this in Georgia. We saw this in Arizona. We're seeing this in Wisconsin and even in Michigan. This is real serious stuff. So go to gregpalast.com. And as of today, you can sign up to get your free copy of our film, which will come out. You'll get it when it's in general release in 3 weeks. That's very cool. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to coming down to Los Angeles and hanging out with you on that. The story's at the top of Raw Story right now. It's titled Texas Officers Raid House of 87-year-old Woman Who Complained About Poor Ballot Access. And then there's a link in that article to the New York Times piece today. I really hope that Ken Paxton does not get away with this. This guy has slipped away from so many, I mean, he's been accused of so many crimes. Yeah, he's a guy. He's still the Attorney General. He's the Attorney General, which is amazing. He was impeached, but they couldn't remove it. But we do have him in our film saying, he stopped Ken Paxton as Attorney General, this Republican, crazy partisan Attorney General, who's committed several crimes. No question that he's been bribed and committed bribery. And I don't say that lightly. But he also said he blocked Houston. He blocked our guy from our film, Rodney Ellis. He blocked Houston from sending out 2.5 million ballots during COVID so people wouldn't have to get in line and die to vote. Sent out 2.5, they were mailing out 2.5 million ballots. Ken Paxton stopped the mailing out of ballots during COVID. Right. This is how Republicans hang on to power. Said, and this is a quote, if we hadn't stopped those ballots, Donald Trump would not have been elected. He would have lost Texas.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow. Hang on just a
that
second,
basically
Is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greg, I'm sorry I'm out of time, but you can read all about it at gregpalast.com. Greg, thanks a lot for dropping by.
You're the best, Tom. Thank you.
Good talking with you. I'll see you in a week or two.